A Science of Change, podcasting by Gilmore Crosby, social scientist, author, and organization development professional since 1984. All right. Hi, this is Gil Crosby. Glad to be talking to you again, dear audience. And today, right here with me in the same room, it's my second podcast where I actually get to sit with the person, is my special guest, Chris Crosby, my brother and the president of the Leadership Institute of Seattle.
Wowza.
And that's really the topic for today. It's all about LIOS. So, Chris, you can really just say whatever you want. I started with some notes here, like what makes LIOS special.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for me, LIOS is unique because it is based on experiential education and a unique adaptation of the T group. And students spend a lot of time figuring out themselves in the program. And so by that, I mean they have to write an autobiography, and then they have, unlike most education these days, we're sort of, it's like my cousin recently said, we're like a vinyl album. We have better sound than a CD, but
high quality vinyl album.
Yeah, we have better sound than the CD, but the CD now is pervasive. Well, I think it's the same with education. Education's never gotten off a traditional model where in a lot of courses there's a lot of lecturing and there's a lot of learning through reading things and then answering tests or writing papers. LIOS, you actually do experiential activities where you have to demonstrate skills, and also you, in the process, do experiential activities where you're learning about your own patterns, how you are with other people, and finding different ways to be, learning how to build empathy, learning how to understand that everybody goes through stuff in life and how can you tune into them. But then also learning a unique form of leadership and how to improve teams, workplaces, projects, initiatives by thinking systemically. Most people want to blame employees, blame departments, and we help people learn that, if you think systemically and you put in place alignment and processes, that you can actually accomplish one heck of a lot. And those employees that seem like troubled employees can be functioning well and adding a lot if they're treated a little differently.
Well, it's fresh on your mind, I think, partially because we just spent the day in a T group workshop with a bunch with manufacturing employees, and
that's true.
And a lot of the dynamics you just mentioned.
They're fully present in the plant that we're working in, and chipping away and helping people think a little differently about what's the root of these problems. Is it just people that don't care, or is it that maybe we're not really aligned as a leadership? Maybe we're not learning how to include people profoundly. Maybe we're not involving the right people, like the people closest to the work when there's problems. Perhaps we've been just sort of setting up systems and telling them what to do instead of being involved. Do we really support people? Do we give them the tools they need to succeed? And LIOS helps people understand all that, specifically the current master's degree, which is Master's of Science in Leadership Management and Organization Development, which is just geared towards that.
Cool. And how to not just stay stuck in blaming others when things aren't going the way you hope they will go.
Yeah. So, one of the things that makes LIOS special is it's built on the foundations of Kurt Lewin and John Dewey, and they both believe that democracy must be learned anew in each generation. And I think there's been a lot of evidence over the last 30 years that that's true. People can easily slide into autocratic leadership. and countries can easily slide that way. And so
maybe through the whole history of our nation.
that's true.
But yeah, so for democracy to function and for work groups to function, people need to be engaged in the process.
Absolutely. And LIOS helps people build deep interpersonal skills where they are able to separate out judgments from facts, separate out self from other, tune into other, be in difficult situations, but still choose how they want to behave. And they do this through experiential education. And I restarted LIOS because I think it's really important, and it's more important today than it's ever been. And then it always will be important. There's tried and true things, clarifying people's accountability, clarifying authority. How do you help the people themselves work through things versus just imposing things on them? Those things will always be present. They're never going to go away.
So LIOS, I think, is also unique. I mean, for one, because our father, an OD practitioner, started it, and it's pretty exciting that I'm excited to be part of at least the initial faculty of this rebirth, and I'm really thankful to you for doing all the work you've done to bring LIOS back to life.
Thank you. Yeah.
And it's an academic program run by practitioners.
That's true. One of the defining factors of LIOS is that to be faculty, you have to actually be doing the work in the field. And you can't just spend your life in an institution. And not anything against PhDs. There's a lot of great PhDs that are doing a lot of good stuff. But this work is about understanding what's happening currently in organizations and ways to help improve them. And so that's a big part of it.
Well, lovely start.
Thank you. You said something else there. Oh, I know what I was saying. You know, our father in 1969 founded an institute in Spokane called the Leadership Institute. It was a consulting wing. And then few years later, there were several attempts to get it started. And finally, the Whitworth College got a hold of him and said, hey, Ed Lindemann was the president then, a futurist, amazing guy. And we want you to have a master's degree here. And so 1973 was the first year, and LIOS has been around since then up until 2018 when they had their closing class. And then I obtained the sort of legal rights to the name, and in 2000, I think it was 21, I started trying to reform it, and then in 2022 I put in the application for the degree, which had to approve the school. So LIOS has never been an independent college. It's always been affiliated with other colleges. So everybody that has a transcript, that transcript is owned by either Bastyr University, Saybrook University, Whitworth University, Whitworth College, or
City
University and Antioch. Those are and Martin University. So all these different places. Well, part of the problem with that is that every university interprets the rules of how to manage a school and then imposes that in every department. So in the end, Saybrook was saying in order to teach, you had to have a PhD, which kept practitioners such as myself out of teaching this work, which I think was a mistake on their part, frankly. So I'm proud to say that I will do my best to maintain the standards and also the standards of how to lead an effective T group that's an inside-outside T group. So people will have to come and they'll have to learn how to do that. I'm not just going to have faculty off the street that haven't ever experienced it.
Sure, if they want to be faculty at LIOS, they're going to have to at least be a participant in one of the T groups.
They'll have to be in a LIOS T group, and then they'll have to be in a process to learn how to lead the T group themselves before they can be faculty. And so we will build up And we're just starting. We're a startup school, so we will build up structures to train people how to lead T groups the way that we lead T groups, which is a unique way. We teach a lot of theory, a lot more theory than most people do, and we add then holding people accountable to the skills. So one of the unique things about LIOS is it's competency based. You have to show that you could do these things.
Yes, and we're in the midst of a certificate program right now where you're leading and where I'm faculty, and in that process we are gathering quotes, what students say, and behavioral moments, and using that to create our assessment of their competencies and allowing them to influence also what we've written. There's a midpoint where they talk about it with us and they know what we think so far. And so I think it's unique in LIOS, even in LIOS's history, but certainly academic history, that the faculty have to be able to say, well, when you said this or did that, that's what led me to have my opinion about your skill level.
That's absolutely true. You're talking about the assessment process right now, and the certificate program has an assessment process. The master's degree will have 3 self-assessments and each course there's an assessment process where we'll be adding in specific behaviors that led us to how we're rating them. Mm-hmm. And we want to be in interactions with the students around that. It's not you put in a paper, you get a grade. It's you put in a paper. I mean, we assess. There's interaction if need be around it and influence. Now, I've also taught at Gonzaga, and when I graded people, some of them wanted to talk to me about it, and so that interaction does happen in other schools too.
Sure.
But here we're trying to be a little more intentional about it.
Makes sense, and I think it's a great part of the process.
Yep.
Well, you just, I think, made some decisions that make it easier for people to attend.
Yeah, we've been kicking around how much should we charge for the program, and we have settled on $15,000 a year. So per year it's $15,000, and so we want it to be as affordable as some of the online programs, realizing that people do have to pay for travel and expenses to get to these week-long residencies, and
if they're not in the Seattle.
Yeah, well,
which is where the residencies.
That's right. The residencies will be in Seattle, but also another unique thing about LIOS is that every course, which is a 5-week course, ends in a 1-week residency. The pre-work for the residency will be reading and whatnot, but the real work happens at those residencies. So it's in person. That's what I mean by vinyl instead of CDs. It's where the rest of the world is sort of heading towards online courses. Mm-hmm. And I agree. I get it. It's flexible. It's easy, and I can get a degree and I can put it, on my resume. But
we both taught online. We've taught webinars. We've taught T groups online.
That's true.
It's not the same as in person.
No, it isn't the same. But most people aren't trying an interactive T group process online.
Right.
But nonetheless, our course is based on in-person learning where you get a ton of feedback from not just the faculty, but also from your co-students, your cohort that you're with. And it's based on, in the moment, giving feedback, in fact, learning how to give and receive feedback and learning from those experiences. Another unique thing is that first and second year students are together often. So if you're a first year student, you are with the same people for that year, and there's second year students that are there that year that they're with the same people, and then the first year students become the second year students. So you have to learn how to get along with people that you might have struggled with in the past. It's harder to just avoid them. Mm-hmm. And as John Scherer would say, anybody that I struggle with is part of my shadow. And so there's deep learning that can happen in a cohort style learning process. And that's what this is. It's a cohort style learning process. And over the year, if you think about Tuckman's theory, there's got to be moments where a lot of differences come up, and this forces people to actually have to work through them, which is where the real learning happens. And then you get to reflect on your family of origin in various ways, in beginning and closing T group at each.
How does it influence your
How does
behavior, your reactions?
That's right, and how why is this bothering me so much right now, and how can I see this human as they are, and begin to make sense of it.
Well, you mentioned John Scherer, and he was part of the first faculty group when LIOS became a master's program the first time around, along with dearly departed Ron Short.
That's right.
And of course, Dad, who was had the vision to start the Leadership Institute of Spokane as a T group based learning program. And I just want to be clear too. The T group is a regular part of the curriculum.
Yeah, some modules will have more T groups. I mean, some residencies will have more. Some courses will have more T groups than others.
Sure.
The first course of every year, so the first course 1 and course 7, and then some of the courses will have more than others, but each course will have some T group in it. And so learning how to interact with others is a huge part of this, because we believe that the most important thing you bring into any situation is yourself. And so if you're not aware about your own patterns and ways of interacting, you're in trouble if you're trying to help somebody else.
Used to be like a requirement almost in the early OD profession that people be in T groups and that they learn use of self, is how it was put back then. But and it wasn't a formal requirement, but most of the early practitioners got that type of learning.
Shout out to David Jameson, who's done some significant study on use of self. And that will be part of our program. The second year students will get that study and look at it and make sense out of it.
Cool. Yeah. And I'm glad you mentioned the second year students again, because I think a unique part of LIOS, like I went to a graduate program, a master's program in social work at the University of Washington, and it was a pretty traditional classroom setting. Yeah. And certainly I had as a second year student, no responsibility for somehow teaching or mentoring or anything like that. Whereas in LIOS, that's absolutely part of the process.
That's right. Well, I mean, so first year students there's sort of 3 phases. The first 4 modules, people are working on how are they being an organizational member. And we believe organizational members can influence a lot more than they think in organizations. And
no matter what their role. Hello, listeners. We're back with you, and I'm just saying this because hopefully you'll bear with us. We had a little technical difficulty the first time we sat down together. Now we're actually on other sides of the country, Chris Crosby and I, and we may repeat some things that we went over, so I hope you'll give us a little patience in that regard. And so, Chris, you were just talking about the roles of the students.
Yeah, well, the roles are based on 3 assessments. So the first assessment is how well you are an organizational member. So we're just focusing on how to help students be present, show up, and influence from the role of organizational member. Most people can influence a lot more than they realize, even if they don't have people reporting to them. And so assessment number 1 is after the first 4 courses, and you're assessed on your ability to be an organizational member. Assessment number 2 is after the next 4 courses. So after course number 508, the second year, you'll get assessed on your organizational leadership skills. And assessment number 3 is on your ability to really garner all the skills and be a practitioner. Are you worthy of being granted the Masters of Science in Leadership, Management, and Organization Development? So there are those 3 distinct assessments as how we measure students' competency in those areas. specific, different from the course evaluations that they'll get at the end of each course.
Okay, so and in regards to then learning about your own personal authority, you go from influencing to actually having a more formal leadership role, which is something unique, I think, to LIOS. Like I was saying before we got cut off, in the graduate school I attended, I had no responsibility for like mentoring or any sort of responsibility towards the new students when I was in my second year of graduate school. And so here you have a leadership role in T groups and in other ways with the new students prior to that leadership assessment.
Yeah, I mean, one of the unique things about LIOS is that it's cohort based, but also first and second years interact in specific ways. So, we do a version of the T group in the first course. The whole week is based on that T group with inside outside groups, and it's highly skill based. Each T group that you'll go to across the country, and there's different T groups in different places. Some will be more focused on skills. Some will be more focused on just how do I manage the anxiety and ambiguity of the moment. Well, LIOS focuses highly on skills, and the first years, they're just trying to learn these skills. The second years in the master's degree actually have a role of helping the students learn and with making what we call interventions, but it just means saying things to help them do the skills they're supposed to do and helping each other understand each other in the moment. And so the second year students will be actually measured on how well they do that. Then
Sure.
That means, though, that the first years and the second years and the faculty combined create 3 layers of authority, which is very unique in organization in schools. It's not in organizations. In organizations, it's all over the place.
Sure.
So I get to figure out, and it's also unique, I think, to have someone reflect on what is my issues with authority in the middle layer, the second year students, and the faculty, and vice versa when they're in those different roles. So it really helps the deep learning about how do I deal with authority and how can I be even more effective as an authority figure and somebody that is just interacting with people in those roles. So it really helps deepen the learnings.
So they actually learn about their own reactions to authority and their own way of being with authority figures, and when they're an authority figure, by actually being invited to let the faculty know when they're frustrated with the faculty or when there's tension. And that, again, I think is pretty unique to the learning environment, but it goes all the way back to what Lewin invited back in 1946 in the Connecticut workshop. Yep. Feedback to the leaders of the workshop.
Yep.
That helps create sets the stage for more honest feedback between the peers.
Yeah, how do I manage myself in these roles, and how, what are my typical patterns, and how can I create healthy interactive patterns with anybody in any role anywhere? And then beyond that, the second year students take on leadership roles in the week-long course that is on major projects. They take on leadership roles in a simulated workplace intervention called the marketplace, where they're the leaders of the organization. The first years are the members of the organization, and they create a real product and try to create as healthy a business as they can. It's similar to Barry Oshry's work, except for by the time both the members and the leaders get there, they'll have a lot of consciousness about what makes an effective organization. If anybody knows Barry Oshry work, he just sort of puts you in a situation and helps you learn about the common dysfunctions that happen there.
They've been prepared, through the authority, learning about their authority reactions and so on.
That's right. There's also moments where second years help teach first years. Like, for instance, when we do the first case study process in the first year, The second years will go around and help teach them the sponsor, agent, target, advocate model. And so they'll be sort of coaching each other along the way. And again, very unique to our process to have first and second years together, teaching, coaching, mentoring, and interacting and learning in the process. That's the whole thing. It's not just I'm your mentor. It's wait a second, how have I tried to mentor this person, and what has it got? How can I learn from that?
And the faculty keep working on themselves through the process.
Let's hope so.
It's also unique.
That's true, and are part of the learning process. You said it before. I'll just reemphasize it. In a lot of educational processes, it's sort of like the faculty is separate, and that is seen as professional. Like it's that they should stay separate, and the students should have their stuff, and the faculty should have their stuff. Well, of course, we are leading and we are teaching the theories. However,
some of that's necessary. There's some separation.
That's right. And in this process, we want people to, work through stuck points with each other, including student to faculty in the moment, and faculty learn and students learn from those experiences.
Yep. I mean, we're teaching use of self, as mentioned in our first chat, and honing that through T groups. And if we're not paying attention to our own reactions to each other and to the students, then we'll go stale. We won't be able to teach it by doing, and that's part of LIOS, is teaching by actually being what we're teaching.
Correct.
And we're also practitioner faculty. I want to make sure we repeat that. We're doing a lot of OD work right now, and last week we spent the whole week running a T group workshop in a manufacturing organization in Tennessee. So,
yep.
That's, I think, also unique about LIOS, and sometimes it got away from that, perhaps, at least with the OD people. But
yeah, well, I actually believe that to a certain extent that the people leading were also practitioners in their own right. They just weren't necessarily trained in the same stuff that LIOS trains people in, and that's important for me to hold that standard, and that'll be my job going forward, and including how do we develop faculty that have led and can lead the particular style of T group we're aspiring to, and that's no easy feat. So we'll be creating structures as we go along. We're just beginning here. We'll be creating structures to help that. I want to talk a little bit about the last week's T group, because we were in a manufacturing plant, and one of my frames of the week is about Wednesday, the students sort of got that they were co-creating the problem in the plant, and shifted to how can we co-create something new for ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a powerful moment. And
instead of just blaming the leaders, blaming the situation, which was happening a lot the first few days, they sort of got the victim creator model that we teach and really got it. Okay, we can bind together and co-create something new for ourselves. And I think that was a seminal moment for this plant. So I'm excited to see what happens going forward. It is exciting. And also just people who were carrying a lot of stress, figuring out ways to not stress themselves as much while still being passionate about their work. So it was a beautiful week.
Yep.
So now you are an author of 3 books. I believe the best way to handle that is to get back to it, maybe with another full podcast. But we were applying certainly one of them last week, and used the other 2.
Mm-hmm.
Now they're on the website crosbyod.com. Are they also on the lios.org website?
No, we don't have books on the website.
Okay.
But you could go to Amazon for my books too.
Sure.
Yeah.
They're well worth reading, but LIOS does have a website, and there's all kinds of useful information there.
That's right, leos.org.
Including upcoming LIOS. Well, there's still time to be a student this year.
We have a few weeks left. We have a lot of people potentially in the pipeline.
It's the first class of the reborn LIOS.
Yep, it's the first LIOS class since 2018.
That's great, Chris, and you are the one that's brought it to life.
Well, I don't want to not recognize Michael Mulholland, who helped me with all the really sort of business processes beyond just the academic side of it. He helped put in the I'm losing the word right now, but we put in we had to submit our application for a master's degree, and that was no easy feat. And so Mike got it all together first, and we worked together to do that, and went back and forth with the state for 3 years before we got authorization. So
duly noted, you've had especially help from Mike and from others,
and definitely from others, and the LIOS board has been a great help along the way too.
And you're the one who said once upon a time, I'm going to get LIOS. I'm not going to let LIOS just die.
That's true. I was the one that put the stake in the ground, but Mike got a hold of me and said, you said you wanted to keep LIOS going. I want to help you. And that really helped propel it. So
that's great. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
And here we are also coming up on, besides the LIOS Tough Stuff this fall that people can enroll in, we have an event coming up in Spokane, Washington, the OD Network event. You'll be there, I believe.
Yep.
LIOS will be represented, and the founder, Robert Crosby, at 97, if the good Lord is willing, will be there as a speaker.
Yep. Father will be speaking about the Riverfront Park project, which is still visible if you walk downtown Spokane,
yep.
And with you assisting him. And
my first OD project.
Right. That's right. This is the beginning of your career back in 1983 or 4 or something like that.
84, yeah. Yeah, so that's exciting. That's coming up.
For LIOS fans, that project represents some tried and true things and some newer things, but it represents clarity of authority, but it also represents how do you manage very angry people and stay self-differentiated. And maybe my father's best work on that. It's also represented in his book, Memoirs of a Change Agent. But so how do you deal with it when people are so upset at you? You can see the steam coming out of their ears, and yet he was able to manage that and help move the project along. Because if he would have got stuck, it would have been a disaster.
Yep. If he had taken it personally and just gotten into a fight or something, so he was a great role model of that self-differentiation for us, because we too have been in many situations where people are angry, and we could get into it with them, and that'd be foolish, or we could help them figure out what they're going to do to make things better.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, that's the preferred route, part of the skill set that LIOS teaches.
Indeed.
Well, so Chris, I think we've done a good job of cobbling together part 2 of this. Part of what we talked about at the end of the last one that I was enjoying was just that LIOS is not just about organizational leadership and organizational influence and change. It's also about social change, and people may very well be in LIOS simply to learn better how to organize social change. So they can be honing skills in organizations and outside of organizations.
Yeah. LIOS teaches the foundations of any change anywhere. And so if you just want to get better business results and have happier employees, come to LIOS. But if you want to think about how to influence, city government, state government, federal government, or even country to country stuff, come to LIOS. There's something for everybody there. If you want to, work on better, outcomes for different ethnicities, come to LIOS. We have the stuff that helps all that work. And it's
how to decrease prejudice, how to apply democratic principles to change and to society.
Mm-hmm.
Is it Adam Kahane a graduate?
Adam Kahane graduated from the corporate master's program, which is what this is, modeled after. He spent his work helping extreme factions work through things. It's hard work, but he has a bunch of great books about it, like collaborating.
In various places around the world where there's serious violent conflict going on.
Yeah, like Colombia and places like that. Collaborating with the Enemy is one of his books, but I know he has several newer books, and it's just an example of this stuff applies to so many places, and it's vitally important. The other thing is just clarifying really where you're headed and helping people work on that is part of our process. And most people are a little confused about what is and is not a goal. So therefore, even DEI initiatives, which, so social justice initiatives, how do you measure and what are you trying to measure? Well, one thing you could turn it into is say our turnover rate's the same with different ethnicities. And what are we doing?
Or with women.
Yep. And what are we doing if they're not? And how are we measuring that? And how are we making sure it's important? Well, how do you align your organization? That's what my first book is about. It's called Strategic Organizational Alignment. And there are multiple ways to make sure you're doing it right. And most people mess that stuff up. But it is just a way of thinking and a structure that really, really matters. So LIOS will bring it for whatever you're trying to accomplish. Again, even if it's just, and I say just, of course, it's important to hit business goals and have happier employees, or you'll have to let a bunch of employees go. So every business needs to keep staying successful.
As Lewin intended, these are skills for individual, group, national, global change for the betterment of humanity. How do we create a better future with the applied sciences that we're bringing through LIOS.
And we've got some work to do.
To create a better future?
Yeah.
There's room for improvement.
There is room for improvement.
Yeah, there certainly is. Okay, well, cool, Chris. Way to go with your role in this and all the people that have been pitching in. And it's exciting that LIOS is back alive here in the second part of 2025. So if you're listening and you're interested in a life-changing educational experience that'll help you be a more effective leader and influencer, this is the place to be, LIOS, and you can find more at lios.org.
Come on down. Let's go.
Hey, I appreciate you listening. This, again, is Gil Crosby. And I want you to take advantage of what's available to you. I have many free materials. I am happy to talk to people about their situations, especially if you're trying to create change, either social change or organization change. We have frequent workshops that are available, T group workshops. If you have never been in a T group with us, then don't miss it in your life. Many people have said to me, of all the trainings I've ever received, I got this one 30 years ago, and it's the only one that stuck with me. You're learning from your actual interactions with the other participants and with the faculty. The faculty are walking the same talk that they're teaching of behavioral skills. It's a training workshop. That's what the T stands for. This is done in the spirit of the creation of T groups by Kurt Lewin and his associates. It's for groups. It's for teams. That's how it was originally designed. It is a opportunity to learn about theory and put it directly into practice. Again, the original design, you learn things and then you put them into practice. It was not just all ambiguity, which is how some T groups, most are led today, where the faculty hardly says anything. That's not how this is designed. So join us for that. There's always workshops. There's the Leadership Institute of Seattle, a 2-year program where you will learn from T groups and learn how to do all the organization development work that my father designed, most of it, and I continue that practice alongside my brother Chris and many other associates. So don't be a stranger. There's a lot going on. It's always changing. So be in touch, and it's on the website, crosbyod.com. I look forward to working with you in your organization or as you pursue things like reducing gun violence and decreasing racism in our society. Whatever your goals are, the social science of Kurt Lewin guides how to achieve those goals in a reliable way. And so that's what I apply and practice every day. And I invite you to do the same. Together, we can create high productivity and morale in organizations. We can create stronger foundations for democracy. We can create a better world.